Okay, cool. She's gonna put it in the
Good to see you. How you doing? Good to see you again. Welcome back. Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, we call you guys up.
Okay. You're behind or? Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, we've had, yeah.
You have? Okay, well, you're
Come on up. Bill, good to meet you, man. Good to see you, brother. How you doing?
So I want to know, you already met Will. Okay. I'm sorry. I know, right? Good. How you doing? I'm just seeing this in your court. He was in court, but like.
Here's maybe a little mic check. Check 1, testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3.
Thank you again.
This is me. I will.
Hey, there you go. There you go. So.
Yeah. Yep. I can do that. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Ariel, I just want to say hi. It's good to see you. Much better seeing you here. Oh, yeah.
So that this is very important thing right now. Yeah, excellent. Oh, here, hold on. Let me get. So Professor Von first, right there next to you. Yeah, man. This is
Oh, he turned his head. One more. Oh, what happened? What did I do?
Oh, here, no. So you probably got it, though. Here you go. Right there. Yeah. So,
All right, everybody look forward. One at a time. There you go.
thanks, Will.
Got it.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah. So, yeah, good to see you.
No pressure. Hey, what's up, brother? Excellent. Got all the
haven't seen you for so long, though.
Yeah, thank you for coming out.
You haven't seen me. You don't remember? They're about me and my bro. But you guys are.
We did the Top Gun Rookie show together.
Yeah, no,
So
I
we're
get it.
very old
Yeah,
friends.
part of that. I mean, I knew about it. I would have been here. So let me.
I think so. I think so. A little anxious. I mean,
Yeah, you're gonna be sitting back here. All right. I can get you guys connected. Sorry, I didn't mean
Yeah, no, I don't bother. Yeah, exactly.
we got wind, we got sleep. We got John. Hey, sorry about that. We need to see what the top but what's this about?
No, that's, yeah. No, that's it. They trust everything. Even Hennepin County now is helping ICE or right. Oh man, you got it all written down, right? There you go.
All right, thanks everybody for showing up today. So we're going to get this started. My name is James Cook. I am an attorney with the BNCL law firm in Oakland, California. My mentor, my supervisor, my boss is John Burris. I'm going to introduce him momentarily, but I just want to say a few words. In terms of how this is going to go, is the attorneys are going to make some statements. Of course, Mr. Burris is going to do a lot of the talking, and then he'll introduce the legal team, and then we're going to introduce the plaintiffs, all right, or the claimants, and then we're going to introduce some community members, all right. But first thing I want to say is this, and I'll make my points quick, is, again, I'm James Cook. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, right? I like to say I bleed purple, okay? So I am from here. I graduated from Southwest High School. I actually graduated from, Ann Watton Junior High. And yeah, if you guys remember Ann Watton Junior High, yeah, see, people who know. And my elementary school is no longer in existence, but it was Audubon Elementary over on 41st and Chown, and then, like I said, Southwest High School. So, this is important to me. All right. Originally, I didn't even want to get involved. And then I saw somebody get ripped from their son, and the son was like beside themselves, and so wasn't the dad. And so that's how I got involved. All right. So that's number one. One of the other things that I think is important, and you'll hear from one of the plaintiffs, is that after George Floyd, we had a huge anti-police sentiment, right? And while it was warranted, we don't want that to carry over, with this ICE thing as the snow melts. And I say this because in my neighborhood, which was one of the heartbeats of the resistance, where Powell Grounds is, we still have a lot of crime, a lot of violence, and my neighbors, who are mostly black and brown, elderly, are victimized as a result of this, right? As a result of the the fentanyl crisis. And it's one thing if you live in Edina, and you guys know what I'm talking about, or Southwest Minneapolis. It's one thing somebody breaks into your car, breaks into your house, they break your window. You can fix it. It's a pain in the ass. It's expensive. But for somebody in my neighborhood, they break their window, their car. That is catastrophic. All right? Think about it. Like, you get your window broken in July, and it's okay. But then, remember this last winter. You can't fix it. So we need the police, but we need them to do their job. We don't want to be, unfairly biased policing. And that's, kind of what I've spent my career as an attorney doing, is make my living off of, holding them accountable. We just need them to do their job correctly, right? And you'll hear about reforms and everything else that we're going to talk about. But so in the meantime, I'll introduce my boss, John Burris. For the people that are old enough, if you remember Rodney King in 1992, he's the guy that sued LA Police Department, Rodney King versus City of Los Angeles. For you people, if you're old enough to remember Tupac, all right? Anybody remember Tupac? Anybody in here? Okay, well, yeah, all right. Represented Tupac, all right? And a number of other people like that, but I think Tupac is a name that people can connect to. And then the Oscar Grant case, if you're not from the Bay Area, but it was where a kid got shot on a train on one of the BART on camera, and ultimately, he sued on behalf of Oscar Grant's family. They made a movie called Fruitvale after it, and so that's kind of the thing. And I'll let him talk about that. But most importantly are the cases such as the Riders in the Bay Area. The Riders, a group of police officers that were going around terrorizing citizens, framing them. It's the reforms that came out of that. That's what's important. We just wrapped up a case. You'll hear from one of the other associates, Krithi Basu, about the Allen versus Antioch case. It's about the reforms, and there's numerous cases where there were reforms. But I also want to acknowledge community members. We got Makima, I think she just showed up. If you want to come on over here, because we're going to ask you to speak later. Thank you, Makima. All right, sure. If you could just take a seat over there. Good to see you, too. Good to see you. So, without further ado, we got John Burris. Thank you.
Thank you, James. James, as you can see, is quite a speaker and promoter of Minnesota, and a lot of the work that we have done. I frequently don't like to talk about all those, but James certainly knows how to bring them forward. But I also think it's important to know that, from my point of view, and the work that my office is involved in, we have been at the forefront of really understanding and holding police accountable for how they treat citizens, our community people, because it's important that you look at law enforcement as a very significant institution, but they can be abusive, and someone has to hold them accountable. And so we have tried to do that throughout the sort of our careers, and represented all types of people in all types of circumstances. I can't even recall the number of people that, and the types of cases that I've been involved in, but each one of those cases has been a human being that's been involved. Has been someone who has suffered as a consequence of conduct on the part of the police that should not have happened. And it could be a big case, it could be a small case, it could be a major case, it could be a death case, a mental impaired case, but whatever it is, the issue is whether or not the police officer's conduct was proper or not. So we've been driven, and certainly here, large measure by seeing what was taking place, and because James, who is from here, has been clearly being an advocate for the issues that have taken place. We've seen them from afar. My wife is here. She's also a law professor, and we both watched with horror as some of these cases went down. And for me, from a historical point of view, and I did make this statement as I made this statement earlier, that I was watching this and I was thinking about historical context of all of this, and it reminded me of the Dred Scott case of 1857, where at the time the U.S. Supreme Court said that a black man had no rights that a white person had to respect. And that's how I felt about this case as I watched it. It was like the ICE and the federal officers really were acting as if the people in the community had no rights that they had to respect. They didn't have to respect the rights of people to protest lawfully and rightfully, and to say this is not acceptable, and to hold and not be punished for it. And so when you see people being pulled out of their cars, windows being broken, only for protesting, or women dragged in the street, you have to say, what kind of human being would do that? And that to me meant that they did not respect the rights. Somehow in the back of their minds, they've been given this sense that the officers had immunity. And I got it because, in fact, the head of ISIS, or the lady's name, I can't think of her name, she said it. And Stephen Miller has said it. Essentially, that officers were not to be held accountable. Well, that clearly is not the law. And part of what drove us here is to say it is not the law, and that we are not going to allow you to come to any community, this community or any other communities, and basically be lawless. That is to say, there is no law that you are held accountable to. And so we're here because of that. And part of what we have done at this moment through the various legal team that we have, which is a very good legal team, that we have essentially filed so far. The first step in saying no to this conduct is to file claims with the federal agencies. And in those federal agencies, which is the first step, because these are federal officers involved, is really filing claims to say, look, what you have done is in fact violated the constitutional rights as well as state court, federal rights that individuals have, because people have a right to fundamentally protest. We all know that's the First Amendment right. You have the right to do that. You can petition the government. You can say to the government what you did is wrong, and you have a right to do that, and you can't be stopped just because they don't like what you're doing or because they're engaged in some activity. Now, we don't say that you can lawfully or interfere illegally with the rights of officers, whether you like the public policy or not. Obviously, the government can decide if they want to have deportation-type rights, whatever. They can make that decision. But they don't mean they get to violate the law in that process. And so we're here to say they have violated the law and laws of the rights of the people of this community, and they've done it in a number of different ways. So some of the causes of action we certainly have looked at, we have at least 10 claims that we filed. I will only say this. That's 10 that have signed up so far. We have many others that are under investigation that have not completed the process. But I thought it was important for us to start this process now, to put the government on notice that we're here, that we're going to be filing these claims, and as well as other organizations that are doing similar kind of things. But the most important thing to me, and that is the question of the right to protest and to do that lawfully and not to be interfered with in that process. And so you cannot illegally stop a person, detain that person, arrest that person just because you don't like the conduct they're engaged in. You have to have reasonable suspicion for the initial detention, or you have to have probable cause for the subsequent arrest. In the cases that we're involved in, they don't have that. We don't have people where there was some basis upon which the person had engaged in some conduct. And so that's very, very important. The second portion of that, obviously, is that the use of force. That you are protected against unreasonable seizures or battery, if you call it, from unlawful by police officers or and our federal officers themselves. The standard isn't any different for a police officer in the local community or a federal officer in terms of the federal guidelines that are involved, the constitutional guidelines that are involved. That is a right. You have the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures, which means you have a right to be free from use of force against you. And so we have people who are like dragged out of the car, who are like who are being tasered, who are being punched, who've had their heads pushed against the sidewalk, pounded against the sidewalks, kicked at various times. Those are unconstitutional use of forces. And to the extent that we have those individuals, and some of whom are here, each will tell their own story, those are violations. And it's up to, and we're saying to the government, to all the federal agencies involved, that is unacceptable, and we're going to hold you accountable for it. Now, there are challenges here, of course, because as you all know, these people were unmasked. They were masked. And that's typically not what local police officers are. Local police officers have, you can see their faces, you can see their badge numbers, you can identify them, and that makes the case a lot much easier to do, at least in terms of identifying individual forces. Here we don't have that. This is strictly a public policy that the government has made. I think is wrong. That officers federal officers who are in your community, that are taking care and infringing upon your ability to go about your freely and exercise your rights as American citizens, should be seen, should be identifiable, should not be able to hide behind a mask and for whatever reasons. And the whole nonsense that is creating a sense of violence, perhaps, and scariness for the officers, that's, in my view, ridiculous. We don't have that with local police officers. We don't have that. We don't have people walking around with local police don't have masks on, and they do their jobs, and people might agree or disagree with them, but you don't have officers being offended or hurt and injured. I mean, you may have individual cases that happen because of whatever that event is, but as a practice, American citizens do not attack police officers for doing their job, and so here to just arbitrarily say that we think the officers' lives are in danger and therefore they have to wear masks, to me, that's poppycock and should not in any way be a basis upon that officers cannot be identified. Unfortunately, it makes it more difficult for us because doing this case, we will have to now figure out if we can identify the individual officers for the individual cases that we have. That will be a chore, it will be a task. It's not the end of the day if we can't necessarily get them. But in terms of, you really want to be able to say, this officer, you did this, we know who you are, and this is that conduct, and we want you to be held accountable for it. It's more difficult, obviously, if we're just handling the government to be accountable. We'd rather have the individual officer accountable as well as the government. But that's a task that we have to follow through as we go through here. So there are a number of causes of actions that we have that we've laid out in the various complaints, and tort claims acts they are called. We've had to, because we don't know exactly who the individual officers are, we've had to file complaints against a number of different federal agencies for the same individual act. Hopefully, in time we'll be able to identify the individual office, the individual agency and individual officer. But we are making an effort to, and we'll make an effort to do that. At the end of the day, when we make these claims, it is our position that we want to basically say to the community and to these officers, to the federal government, that you cannot come into a community, run ripshot over the community people who live there in the name of a public policy that you might want and we may disagree with, but that doesn't give you a right to unconstitutionally violate the rights of the people in that community. And it's like, hell no, we will not accept it. And this cause of action we're saying here now as the first step along that process. So, you know, we have filed 10 claims with various federal agencies that set forth a number of different causes of action. We'll go through all of them. But the gravamen of it all is that these were violations, constitutional violations. The person was either wrongfully detained, wrongfully arrested, use of excessive force, all without just cause. And those are violations, and each person suffered a different form of damages. And as a consequence of that, we will evaluate what those damages are on individual purposes. But that's the purpose. That's what we're trying to get done here. And we have a good team here to do that. And so I think what I'll do now is start calling some of those lawyers up here. First, we'll start with Chase. Chase, where's Chase? There he is, there. Okay. We also have Trisha. Where's Trisha? Tris? Okay, Tris, okay. And we have James from the office. You already talked to him. Chrissy from my office. Where's Chrissy? Okay. And I think, is Mohini on?
Yeah, Mohini's on Zoom, so we'll bring her in.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we can have her speak.
why don't we start now? Chase, why don't you come up?
Mr. Burris, you should stay there.
No, I'm staying. I was just moved to the side. He's a big man.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Burris, it's an honor to be here with you. Thank you to the BNCL law firm, to Brother James Cook, to all those who are here with us and who stand with us, those who have been targeted or illegally profiled or who have been brutalized in unlawful manners, in manners that exceed constitutional and legal authority. Because Mr. Burris has dedicated his life to making sure that the arc of that our human trajectory, that arc bends towards justice. We're here today to let illegal actors, bad actors, who have done Minneapolis-St. Paul wrong, who have violated the law to illegally seize, to take the lives of good people, good Minnesotans, good Americans, people in Minneapolis and St. Paul, American mothers, American nurses, people who were standing up for what's right, and people who those same occupiers of those institutional pillars. Mr. Burris was referencing Kristi Noem, the former director of Homeland Security, who, after Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy were murdered in broad daylight on camera, got on national television and labeled them as domestic terrorists. The same thing happened to me, my wife, my children during the Stand with Standing Rock, where thousands of Minnesotans showed up to help us. So we're here collectively to ensure that redress is available. You're getting one of the best law firms in the country. I'm here to learn, to help, to assist. I came just like James. I saw something horrible. Something horrible happened to a Native American woman. And I came to make sure that no Native American went unrepresented. But then I met James and our circle expanded. Mm-hmm. And we're here to say that we're in for the long haul. We're here to hold to account anybody who's done wrong to our people or our relatives. What they've done is illegal, and they need to be held accountable. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Chris?
Hi everyone, my name is Trisha Poland and I'm an attorney also. I've lived in Minneapolis my entire life. I grew up in Northeast, I live south right now. I went to De La Salle High School, the U of M for undergrad, and then William Mitchell for law school. I'm also a mother to 3 children, and all 3 of my kids go to the Minneapolis Public Schools. I'm very honored to be a part of this class action lawsuit because I don't think its significance can be overestimated. I started to get involved in this fight in late September when I had heard from someone that ICE was likely going to come to Minneapolis next. I went out and I tried to warn the schools and tried to prepare them to get ready for it, but you know, I don't think there's any way we could have possibly been prepared for the incredible cruelty that came to our city. Our first parent was taken on December 2nd, 2025. And just as James talked about how hard it is to have a broken car window, ICE agents surrounded him when he was at work. He tried to show them his work permit and his driver's license, but they smashed in his window anyway, and they detained him and they took him up to Freeborn County Detention Center. That car sat out in the winter, in the snow, in the cold, for months. Most people, you know, saw the violence and trauma that happened in the streets, but I was fortunate enough to be invited inside of these families' homes, and I saw the emotional trauma that was happening that cameras weren't filming. The mother trying to figure out how to tell her child when he got home from school that the father was gone and she wasn't sure when or if he'd be back. So I have to say, I am honored to have done that, and I really want to tell their story. I wish we could have had cameras on these families to see the sadness and the heartbreak that these families went through. I guess right now I just want to say to all the families who are still in hiding and to all the kids who are still terrified that they're going to lose a loved one, you are not alone, and we are here, and we are going to fight for you. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kriti Basu, and I'm an associate attorney at the Burrs firm. It's an honor to be representing the courageous plaintiffs in this lawsuit. From meeting with each of them and hearing about what they endured in January and beyond, it's clear that these are all people who were viciously assaulted, wrongfully arrested, detained for inordinate periods of time, and subjected to cruelty for doing their civic duty. They were not only voicing their dissent to federal agents who were abusing their power, they were also showing up to protect their community when their neighbors' constitutional rights were under attack. While most of the federal agents had their faces covered and were not wearing badges, we have filed Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA, requests with each plaintiff's federal tort claim and are prepared to explore every avenue to uncover their identities and hold them accountable. There is strength in numbers, which is why it is so powerful that these plaintiffs are coming together to demand accountability. At the Burrs firm, we've seen how effective these class action type lawsuits can be in securing meaningful institutional change, most recently in the city of Antioch, California, and we look forward to pursuing the same here with this team of excellent lawyers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mohini, we're gonna have to. So we're gonna have to bring Mohini in on Zoom, and we've done this before. It actually works, but we'll dedicate this. So if everybody else on Zoom could turn off their microphone and just let Mohini speak. Hold on, let me just see if I can just bring. Go ahead and start talking, Mohini.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can definitely hear it. See, we can actually hear you, but I just want to get you. Go ahead. There we go. All right, here we go. So don't worry, Mohini. We can all see you. I'm just holding the camera up in front of. I'm going to put you right in front of the microphone.
Okay, sounds good. Hi everyone, my name is Mohini Tangri. I'm an attorney based out of Texas, and I'm especially passionate about this lawsuit, as this issue has directly touched my family. I'm a daughter of immigrants, and being in Texas, I've gotten the opportunity to represent people pro bono for habeas petitions. That has been truly an insane experience, to be honest, because you see up close and personal what people are experiencing in the detention centers. So on top of that, I got the opportunity to go to Minneapolis and support some of the people who were being arrested after protests, along with James Cook. And I'm generally very excited to be a part of this process, holding people accountable and generally pushing back against violence that has become normalized. For my family, this happened earlier in the Trump administration, but the rhetoric encourages even, your everyday person to be okay expressing hate and engaging in violence against people who don't look like them. So I think this is a huge step forward in physically affected. And my firm, Helios Law, we're taking the intakes, a lot of the intakes. You can either call our number at 651-371-9822, or you can go to our portal at portal.helioslaw.com if you believe that you might have been affected and you want to get involved. We're very happy to chat with you and see if we can help. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mohini. Thank you. Mohini Tangri, everybody. Okay, so we're gonna. So the next part of this is we are going to have the plaintiffs or the clients speak, and then after that we're gonna have some community members. Okay, so we've kind of asked everybody to sort of limit it to about 90 seconds, but we'll let's hear the stories. Go slow. Almost lost it, folks. All right. That was close. All right, so we're starting off with Miss Winifred. You can come on up. Wait. You just want to go right there, stand next to Mr. Burris.
Here we go. Hi, my name is Winnie Savage Ford. I have been legally observing ICE since January 7th, the day Renee Good was shot and killed. Renee was murdered 4 blocks from my house. As a neighbor and resident of Minneapolis, I felt it was imperative for me to do everything in my power to resist the federal occupation terrorizing my city and to protect my neighbors. On the morning of the 24th, I was legally observing ICE sightings in the Whittier neighborhood with 2 friends when we arrived at 26th and Nicollet in front of Glam Doll Donuts. After requesting to see a warrant, which was ignored, an agent approached me and pushed me twice, which prompted me to fall. As I was going down, 3 agents proceeded to tackle me and drag me face down into the middle of the street. They knelt on my back, twisted my arms, pinned my legs to the ground, and handcuffed me. The cuffs were so tight I lost feeling in my hands, which resulted in temporary nerve damage. They proceeded to take me to one of their vehicles and picked me up by my legs and threw me in the back of the car head first. I was in the back of the vehicle when I witnessed ICE agents shoot and kill Alex Preddy on the other side of the street. At that moment, I thought I was going to die too. I pleaded with the agents to understand why another life was taken and to please not take mine. I was told to shut the fuck up and to stop being hysterical. After Alex was killed, I was driven to a warehouse adjacent to the Whipple Federal Building, where I was shackled and pinned against a wall as they searched under my clothing. I was then moved to Whipple, where agents repeatedly moved me between cells, each time asking who was paying me. After being held for 12 hours in a freezing cold cell with no access to food, water, or a bathroom, unless you banged on the window long enough, I was released without any charges, and no way of contacting anyone, as they had taken my phone. Before I was pushed and arrested, Alex was standing next to me. He videotaped my arrest and yelled at agents to leave me alone. I did not know him, but I knew he had my back. I knew the kind of heart he had, one that loves and protects without limits. That day has changed me forever. The trauma will haunt me for the rest of my life, and I will never be the same. Thank you. Savageford.
Thank you, Winnie.
And Winnie, common spelling, I-E.
Wynnnie.
Next up, Taylor Munn, Taylormund. Taylor
Munn. Good afternoon, everyone. Since ICE has occupied the Twin Cities, I've been in constant state of anxiety and stress. I can't see a tinted midsize or large SUV without thinking it's an ICE vehicle. I'm constantly doing double takes to make sure it's not ICE. I can't hear cars honking without feeling it's a warning signal about ICE presence. For weeks, I'd wake up and put a whistle around my neck first thing in the morning, only to take it off as I was going to bed. There were multiple occasions where I'd wake up to cars honking, whistles blowing, people screaming ICE right outside my apartment. One morning, Greg Vivino was outside my apartment with a convoy of maybe 5 cars with at least 15 agents in full tactical gear, which felt like an intimidation tactic as they stood around looking at everyone. I fear for my neighbors and our community. Everyone has felt the trauma and disturbance they have caused to our city. ICE and their agents need to be held accountable for their actions. Thank you.
Thank you. You got out of order, so you got to come up. You got to come up next because you were supposed to go up. Oh, yeah.
Good afternoon. My name's Adam Underwood. On January 13th of this year, outside the Whipple Federal Building in Minneapolis, I was assaulted, detained, and arrested while exercising my constitutional rights in the days between the killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. I'm here today because this isn't theoretical for me. I experienced firsthand what government power feels like when it's turned against the very people it's supposed to protect. I can't even imagine what it's like for our immigrant brothers and sisters or anyone that doesn't have white skin. Those who warned about the dangers of building a permanent security apparatus inside a democracy were dismissed as fearful. Today they look like prophets. We accepted extraordinary powers in the name of temporary safety. What we are not told is how easily those same tools could be redirected towards us. Permanent emergencies are incompatible with a free society. This is what mission creep looks like. History is clear. Freedoms are almost never taken all at once. They erode slowly, policy by policy, justification by justification, until one day people realize the line has already moved behind them. We are living in that moment right now. I believe this country still has a choice. We can choose accountability over unchecked expansion. We can choose liberty over fear. And we can decide together that constitutional rights do not disappear simply because the government declares an emergency. What happened to us in Minneapolis should not be remembered as the moment democracy failed. It should be remembered as the moment Americans decided to correct course. Thank you. Oh, Adam. My name is Adam Underwood.
Say your name for the record. Spell your last name.
Oh, Adam Underwood. ADAMUNDERWOOD.
Okay. Gina. Folks, before as Gina's making her way up, we want to make sure that we thank Gina. She's the owner of the venue for allowing us to hold this
My name is Gina Christ, spelled like Christ, Christ. Gina, the Italian spelling, Gina. At the beginning of Metro Surge, I resolved to do one thing a day to help my neighbor. And that would vary on day to day. I would pick up groceries, or I would drive somebody. I would hang a sign in my window. I would call a senator. One thing a day was what I wanted to do. I was on my way to work on January 21st, and I passed an event on 28th and Blaisdell, and there was an observer going from car to car. We need people on the other side to help. And I thought, well, that's me. I want to go to the other side to help. I'm here to help. I want to do one thing a day to help. And I drove around the block to 29th and Blaisdell as as Border Patrol was leaving an event where they picked up a 15 and 16-year-old. They stopped during their exit, got out of their cars, surrounded my car, broke my window, pulled me from the car, put me on the ground, zip-tied me, put me in their SUV, drove me to Whipple, fingerprinted me, took my DNA, did not charge me with anything, released me. They left my car running, my phone, my purse, and my wallet on the front seat of the car. They said I did not need a phone call upon release. I could simply walk over to the protesters and they would help me, which is exactly what they did. I am I am very grateful for this lawsuit and opportunity. Thank you. And I am hoping that this continues to be my thing to help my neighbor, because that's what I resolved to do at the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Thanks again. So we have Matt Allen and Sarah Allen. I don't know if you want to come up together, that's fine, or if you want to come up separately, but I think you come up together. And again, if you could start off, just spell your name for the record, both of you, if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah. Matt Allen, that's Mattallen.
Sarah Allen, Sarahaallen.
Okay. A little long-winded, so please, I'm trying to keep it in the time. All right. So, I could try my best.
Are you cool saying you're AKA?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm out and about not being a citizen, living my life, and trying to just exist, I do make music. Nerdy is that name when I do that. I appreciate that. But what I want to talk about here is my grandmother was a nurse. I have friends who are nurses. I have been helped and saved by nurses. During the course of their duties, they can be yelled at, spit on, discriminated against, called all sorts of vile names, punched, kicked, have their very lives threatened by people who very much mean it. They have no body armor, no helmets, no armored vehicles. They're often thrust into violent situations with people who wish them harm with nothing but a pair of scrubs and a 30-minute nap. And do you know what we expect those people to do? Their job. Help their patients and specifically not murder anyone. Even when it's dangerous, we expect that the people who took on the title of nurse would do what they are here to do, help those who are in need of care, even when they're scared. Which is why it makes so much sense to me that one of the last things that Alex Preddy did in his life was help a woman who was violently pushed to the ground. And I know that it was one of the last things he would ever get to do, because in the very video that I saw him do this, when I saw him do what nurses are supposed to do, I watched as a gang of ICE agents shot him to death in broad daylight. Unfortunately, here in Minnesota, waking up to a video on your phone of someone being murdered by an arm of the state is not a new occurrence. Hell, this wasn't even the first video of an ICE murder that month. So hell yeah, I had something to say about it. And when I stepped outside to exercise my right to do just that, I was shot in the back with projectiles, masked men tackled me to the ground, had slurs and insults spat at me, acid sprayed on my face, picked up and thrown into the back of a pickup truck to be driven away from witnesses where I believed my life would end. I mean, come on, this isn't political. This isn't about team colors. There is a line of human decency that has been long jumped over, and it needs to stop. Real talk, depending on what algorithm you're locked in on right now, this whole speech might be cut together very differently. So instead of me trying to make everybody happy, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I think that dragging pregnant women through the frozen street is wrong. I think that busting down doors and marching men in the cold in their underwear is wrong. I think that armed agents getting into fights outside of children's school is wrong. And I think that calling it a crime to go to work, pay taxes, build community, and create a life without the state's written permission to do so is wrong. And even though the people who wrote the original document probably didn't consider me a person, there is a piece of paper in D.C. that says I have the right to freedom of speech. And when that right is violently and belligerently and blatantly infringed upon, it should come with consequences. It is my hope, alongside with the brave people of this community, that these lawsuits don't only bring about much needed consequences, but also show that justice can be found here. Despite how hard people in power might try to say differently, protesting is not a crime. Throwing people into unmarked vans to never be seen or heard from again while beating and killing those who speak out against it should be.
It's highly unfortunate that I have to follow that.
You got that,
Since January of 2025, my name is Sarah. So since January of 2025, it seems like every day we wake up to a fresh new hell in the headlines. We have watched in horror as ICE escalated their tactics to arrest and deport the worst of the worst and dangerous criminals in their valiant efforts to keep the streets of America safe. I think everyone here can agree that that narrative is a load of crap. We have read articles and watched videos day after day for months about families being violently torn apart by masked strangers, getting thrown into unmarked cars and disappeared. We've watched as ICE was given the green light to race with total immunity to accomplish their goals. And they did. When they announced Operation Metro Surge, we knew it was about to get bad. But this, unfortunately, wasn't our first rodeo. We experienced the heartbreak of George Floyd and Daunte Wright. We already knew how to come together as a community, how to show up for our neighbors and make it known our thoughts and feelings about our rights and freedoms being violated and taken away. So when ICE showed up here at home and began to terrorize the streets of Minneapolis, it was no question that Matt and I would be ready to once again show up and support in whatever way we could. But the horrors persisted and the violence escalated, and we watched as ICE murdered Renee Nicole Good as she exercised her right to be a legal observer. One of our own senselessly murdered by the very people who claimed they were here to protect us and keep our streets safe. And again, on January 24th, we woke up on what was supposed to be a regular Saturday with a list of errands that needed to be run, and instead we saw the horrifying video of Alex Preddy being gunned down in the street, just around the corner, by the same agency that had just murdered one of our own not even a month earlier. Matt and I knew before it was even a headline that we had to come out. We had to see how we could help. We couldn't stay home. They killed one of us again for the crime of helping a woman that they had pushed down to the ground and refusing to be intimidated by them. And now we're here today because while we were out there on the 24th exercising our right to protest the egregious atrocities that our federal government has been relentlessly inflicting upon a city and people we love, they once again escalated violence against us and violated the law and our constitutionally protected rights. In the chaos of it all, after they had deployed chemical gas into the crowd indiscriminately and without warning, Matt and I got separated as we tried to retreat. And next thing I know, I'm hearing commotion behind me. I'm hearing the sounds of a man's voice crying out. And when I turn around to see what was happening, all I can see is a group of masked agents violently assaulting my husband. It is incredibly difficult to explain the kind of fear that you feel as you realize that these people, who hours before had just shot and killed an innocent man in the street, might now do the same to the love of your life in front of your eyes. Or if by some miracle they don't kill him and make an example of him, they'll take him away to God knows where, and good luck finding him. Now, we count ourselves lucky, all things considered. He's still here with me, and he got to come home. But for thousands of families across the country, they are not so lucky. It is imperative that we see justice for those who have been terrorized. It is imperative that our government be reminded that they are not above the law, and they must be held accountable for the ways in which they have broken and continue to break the law. We cannot allow this to continue. They must know that we will not stand by silently, we will not roll over in submission, and we will not tolerate their violence as they attempt to take away our rights and freedoms. We're Minnesotan through and through, which means we protect each other. If you show up here to terrorize and brutalize our neighbors and our streets, we're going to show you just how Minnesota nice we are. Thank you.
We have a few more. We still have a few more plaintiffs that we want to introduce to you. So next up would be Henry. Is Henry here? Okay. Is Joseph here? Joseph Croce? Okay. So we have Katie though. Come on up, Katie.
Yeah, Kate.
So hi everyone, I'm Kate Shaw, this is SHAW, former Army medic and one of the 38 being politically prosecuted by this administration because on January 18th I peacefully protested at City's Church. That's it. No violence, no threats, no blocked exits. Just a brief interruption to ensure that that congregation knows that their pastor, David Easterwood, is also a field director for ICE. We metaphorically flipped some tables. I mean, what would Jesus do, right? So, now Pam Bondi has indicted us on 2 federal felonies and used excessive force when arresting all of us. No summons sent. Instead, an ICE tactical team rolled up, 20 deep, sirens going, guns drawn by clearly untrained hands that shook as they held that gun in my face, even though I went with no struggle. I was held overnight at Hennepin County, strip searched in filthy conditions, and despite many requests, I was refused medications that I had on me because they cannot be interrupted. So I experienced severe nerve pain and became increasingly cognitively impaired. And yet it could have been worse. I actually could have died from it. For what? I am not a criminal. I peacefully protested. And at least I can sleep well at night. Thank you.
Yeah! Sorry, we went out. Yeah, you gotta come over there. State your name for the record, spell your last name.
Well, I'm a mess right now. I've been crying and stuff. My name's Matt Sheekey. It's Matt and then Shekey. I went out to Whipple to observe, and the first thing that happened, well, eventually someone threw a firework, which was dumb, and I dropped back like 40 yards to film because I knew the response was going to be crazy, and they tear gas, pepper balled, flashbanged, just everybody. It didn't matter. There was like a 10-year-old there. And then there was a protester that had an American flag, and I watched him get beat up, and I have it all on film. I watched him get beat up. They took his American flag, dragged it on the ground. Everyone started yelling, "What are you doing? Pick that flag up." And then the ICE officer flexed and said, "It's our flag, ours." And that was the first time I yelled. I said, "It's everybody's flag." And then it ended up with me getting pepperballed. And the second time, I don't know, it started, that's all I got. That's good.
We got two more plaintiffs before we get to the community member. So let's start with Will Kelly. All right. And spell your name.
Top you off.
Then Dave Towers next. State your name for the record, spell your last name. Also include your AKA.
My name is William Kelly, Kelly, also known as the Woke Farmer. I'm a combat veteran. I'm a patriot. I'm an activist. I've been protesting this attack on the Constitution across the country from Washington, D.C. to New Orleans and now to here. When I saw what happened to Renee Good, when I saw that 4,000 federal agents were attacking the city, I had to come here. And what I saw was the same thing I saw in Iraq. I saw an attack on humanity, not just on immigrants, but on citizens. So I stood up and I practiced my First Amendment right, as the Constitution gives me. And how did they respond? We came with megaphones, we came with frog costumes, and they responded with M4s, with tear gas, with OC spray, with pepper balls. I watched them violently attack ladies in wheelchairs, elderly citizens standing up for their rights at Whipple. I watched Greg Bovino have a press conference while he sent goons to attack us in full battle rattle and a shield wall, attacking innocent civilians for practicing their right to peacefully assemble. And then one day they targeted me. They called me out and told me if I don't get out of the street that they're going to arrest me. So I made a little joke and I got out of the street. Despite 100 other people being in the street that day, they sent out 50 agents and they chased me down the street. And I ran because I know my First Amendment right. I know they had no right to arrest me. They should have called the police. I was in a public Minnesota street. So I ran. And then once I realized that there was still 3 agents behind me and I was no longer in the sight of the cameras, I jumped into a woman's minivan out of fear because I know what these agents do. I know how evil they are. And what did they do just a week after Renee Good was murdered? They ran up and put a pistol in this woman's face, in this soccer mom's face. They put a pistol in her face. So I immediately jumped out of the van because I was afraid for her life and I peacefully surrendered. But what they did is they threw me on the ground, they shoved my face in the pavement, and they put a knee on the back of my neck, which is a felony in the state of Minnesota. They violently dragged me into a minivan and took me back to Whipple, where they put me in a cell with other citizens, one of which had been pepper sprayed, had been OC sprayed. So we sat in that cell for hours, choking on why we were there or what we were charged with. After several hours, I was released with a little citation, a piece of paper, but they never charged me. They never charged me with a crime, but they stole away my rights. So we're going to continue to stand up for these people, immigrant and citizen alike, because we believe in the Constitution, because we believe in humanity. Stand up now, Americans, before it's too late, because every day it gets worse. Every day Donald Trump steals our rights away. All power to the people.
All right, we've got one more plaintiff, then we'll start. We'll get to the community members.
My name is David Tower, Tauer. I have a couple points to make, but I'll just start out by saying, first, I've told a couple different friends and family over the last couple of months how proud I've been of Minneapolis, just seeing the response that the community's had towards everything going on, and I'm feeling that same kind of pride being here with everyone today. My story is not as exciting and not as I guess just,
It's good no matter what.
Yeah, it's not as exciting, but, so I was, after the Alex Preddy shooting, I was honestly not even technically protesting. I was observing the protest because I wanted to show my support in some way, but it was too damn cold that day. So I was in my truck, and I was pulled out of my truck by ICE agents after given commands that was physically impossible to obey. I was in the truck, blocked in by another car. They smashed out my window, pulled me out of the truck, and while I was on the ground, I immediately put my hands behind my back because I really did not want any, to create extra issues. And while I was on the ground, one of the ICE agents punched me in the back of the head a number of times, and I did get a moderate concussion. But I remember being on the ground and specifically pressing my head against the ground so that when he would punch me, it wouldn't keep bouncing off the ground. So that's my story. The first point I wanted to make about everything going on, is I probably am echoing, I know I'm echoing a lot of the sentiment that people have already shared where, as a white guy, what I went through was not that bad. It sucked. It was not fun to get a concussion. It was not fun to spend 12 hours at the Whipple, but I knew I was going home. No matter what, I was going to get out. I was going to go home, and it shows how important it is for everyone to stand up to what's going on, because so many people that are there and were there, they didn't know that, and a lot of them, the worst case scenario happened, and that's why we're out there. So that's the one and most important thing. As much as I didn't have fun that day, that was nothing every single day. The second point I wanted to make, that I know I've talked to James about, is I actually spent I'm self-employed. 20 years ago, I considered being a police officer, but I had some experiences with Minneapolis police that I didn't feel comfortable that I could do the job properly and turn a blind eye to some of the things that I saw. After the George Floyd incident, I actually felt like the right moves were being made in the police department and the right changes, that I felt like that was actually a good way to go. So I spent the last 2 years in school to get a degree so that I could be a Minneapolis police officer. I'm not. I haven't been hired. But yeah, that's okay. I'm self-employed. I'm not worried about it. But the point is we learned a lot about, obviously about how things are properly done with, Fourth Amendment and all the legal issue classes with Mr. Zierden, who's a pretty amazing guy, and just how the right way to do things and how important, it was burned into our heads, the definitions of probable cause and the definitions of reasonable articulable suspicion and all these things that people in law enforcement need to know. So getting back to part of the reason why I wanted to do that was I saw the change in the police department that I needed to see to be able to be a part of that. And part of the side effect of everything going on, as I stated, the worst thing is what the people who are affected are dealing with. The side effect is the damage that is being done with the local law enforcement agencies and the community. With Hennepin County Sheriffs being out at the Whipple building, doing some of the things they're doing, and luckily, I could be wrong, but I don't think I've seen too much interaction with Minneapolis PD and the feds. But there's just been a atmosphere of mistrust that's been created, where that has damaged a lot of the repair that's happened since George Floyd. So I just think that needs to be addressed also. So those are my 2 points. David Tower, Tauer. Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to the next section here, because I have a flight to catch here, I just want to say that this is the reason why these individuals, these people here, are the reason why my office is involved. These are really good, solid people. Everyday people who believe in the Constitution, who believe in the rights of their community, and they want to be protective of their community. And they saw evil taking place in their community, and all they really said is that we want you to not do it. And they went to observe the evil that was being done. And for that, they wound up going to jail, beaten, and a number of other things. So these are the kind of people that we want to represent, that we've always tried to represent people who've been abused by the police in some way. And here's another example of that. And these are I'd say ordinary, everyday people who are just trying to lead their lives as American citizens, and they wind up getting abused and being placed in jail and treated as if they were in fact criminals. In fact, the criminals were the law enforcement officers themselves. So we are here and gladly able to represent them, and there are others, and we will represent them as well. So thank all of you. I'm going to have to leave. James will take over from here. And James is your guy. He's great. How you are? Come on.
Can you answer two questions before you go?
Oh, sure.
And then we'll get to the community members.
Sure. I can answer.
All right.
I've got kind of a boring legal question for you. So, where are you procedurally with this? You're filing complaints first, and then class action suit?
Yeah, we have filed our complaints for at least 10 people so far. We know that there are others, and we anticipate there being, because we may have 80 so far in our file that we're just going through the fact pattern and reviewing them, and we will process them. It's like everything else. We got to make sure that we read their stories over, see, and verify as much of it as we can, and then ultimately we will bring others in. And there's our anticipation, though, to have as many as who want to file complaints, and as large as they want, and we will be filing other claims. In order, ultimately, it will be one or more class actions we will file.
And the claims are with the individual agencies, as you said.
Absolutely, claims are with the individual agency, and because we do not know the actual agents, which particular department they were with, we've had to sort of scattershot over a number of them. For each individual person, we probably filed against 5 or 6 different agencies because we don't know which one is it. We didn't include Minneapolis Police. I don't think is included in any, but certainly all the agencies are.
And real quickly, what's your timing on filing the actual class action complaint? And will that be in Minnesota federal court?
Yes, it would all be Minnesota Federal Court here, yeah. And we don't have a time frame because we're still going through them. We want to do them as soon as possible. We want the process to start. Now it is started because no matter what, we've already started the process. And so it's really up to the government to respond to what we have. Typically, I will say, they do deny claims right up front, and then the process starts from there. It's a federal tort claim, so these are judge cases, not jury trials. There are some federal causes of action that we will get past certain kind of legal issues that are involved. They're called Bivens, that those could wind up before a jury, but so far we have to work through those because we don't know the names of the officers. Okay, any others? Quickly? Okay.
Okay.
Is that it? Okay, good. Thank all of you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Burke. I see you. All right. So we want to get to the community members, and I'll just say what the order is. And thanks again to Mr. Burrs and Professor Mana Burrs right here, back here. All right. So thanks for coming, Mr. Burrs. All right. So in terms of the community members, the order will be we'll start off with Marty O'Connor. Then we'll have Miss Nakima Palms. Then we'll have I think Dana was still here. I don't see Dana. Okay, and then we'll get to Mr. Basais. All right, but yeah, we want to make sure that distinguished community members speak because while they aren't our plaintiffs, they are the voice of it. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll have Professor Stein as well. But let's start off with Mr. O'Connor. What's up, my brother? All right,
I know James for 35 years. He's great. So I'm Martin O'Connor, M-A-R-T-I-N, O''Connor. And I think really the reason that James wanted me to come up and just say something quickly is that this is a nice reminder that this isn't a fight that's over as well, and that some of the calls sometimes are ICE out of Minnesota or whatever it is, but no, for me it's abolish ICE and get the fuck out. I don't want them around. I want them gone. And when I was in Mexico, where I have a home at the end of December, I got a phone call from my guys. I'm a painting contractor, and my guys were in hiding. And so I realized that at that point, I had to come back and do something. And so I didn't know what it was because I'm a little older than a lot of these warriors that we see behind me, but I knew something had to be done. And so this is just a reminder that I grew up with my dad about a block and a half away. So when Alex Preddy was killed, it became also very personal, like everything for us here in Minnesota. So I just want to remind people that one person can make a difference. In 1957, 9 black children wanted to go to school in Little Rock, Arkansas, and they were told no, but one person stood up to them, and that person luckily was my grandfather. And so it's a reminder that one person can make a difference, and that is the great Irish activist Bobby Sands, I will paraphrase when I say this, is that every Minnesotan has their part to play, no part too small, no part too big, and that nobody's too old or too young. So fuck ICE, abolish ICE. I am so glad that we are now leading the cause of doing that, and that Minnesota continues to stand undefeated, and then we'll bring the fight to them. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hey, I don't even need an introduction.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nakima Levy-Armstrong. I am a civil rights attorney, a former law professor, a longtime activist in this community, also the co-founder of the National Target Boycott and a co-organizer of the city's church protests that happened on January 18th of 2026. And I lay all of that out to remind the American people of what we experienced here, as you've heard from the courageous voices who came before me about what they experienced. Too often, the chaos, the tyranny, the authoritarianism of the Trump administration is normalized through the media, through the conversations that have been had. But this is anything but normal. And it's also a reminder of how we got here in the first place. As a Black American activist and organizer, when I saw ICE come upon the scene and Operation Metro Surge, what it reminded me of is what my ancestors endured during slavery, right? Seeing ICE officers act like slave patrols, dragging out human beings and treating them like they were inanimate objects. So if anyone wants to know how slavery happened for so long in this country, all you need to do is look at the playbook of the Trump administration. for 2025 and beyond. That's how we got here. That's why as Black organizers, we stood up with our immigrant neighbors. We stood up with our indigenous neighbors, our white neighbors as well, in taking a stand against the violence, against the murder, against the lies and the corruption of the Trump administration. It is no accident from my perspective that George Floyd was also killed on Donald Trump's watch. If you all remember, when he took office, he told officers that you could rough up suspects. He let them know that our lives were worth nothing in his eyes. And so it is no surprise that you had officers like Derek Chauvin and the other three who killed George Floyd feeling comfortable engaging in a modern day lynching for the world to see. So evil has been unleashed on American society, and Donald Trump used ICE as the military arm of his authoritarian regime. And part of why we spoke out against companies like Target is because that is who they aligned themselves with. A company that pretended to focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, but the moment that you have an authoritarian in office who right away begins attacking diversity, equity, and inclusion, that company showed their true colors and showed us that they would rather side with evil than side with the people and the diversity that we have here. So I am grateful for the people of Minnesota. I'm grateful for all of the courageous voices that stood up and took a stand. I'm bothered by our elected officials abandoning us in a time of crisis, but it also reminded us of the power of the people. Because who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
So that's what we have to remember going forward, because this battle is not over. We know that ICE is still here. We know that ICE is going around to other cities around the country that are less organized than we are here in Minnesota. But we want those places to know that we stand in solidarity with you. Look at the example of ordinary, average Minnesotans who stood up for the rights of their neighbors, who love thy neighbors as we love ourselves. And know that we are there in solidarity with you, because we, the people, matter, our voices matter, and our humanity matters. Thank you.
Professor Stein, you're on deck, so if you can come up.
Hi, my name is Dana Kazuko Thompson, and I'm just...
Spell your name for the record.
Dana is D-A-N-A, Kazuko is K-A-Z-U-K-O, and Thompson, T-H-O-M-P-S-O-N. I'm extremely honored to be included with this amazing group of people. So I work in education. I'm a typical citizen. I'm a trans woman, and I was protesting at Whipple day after day. We were engaging with ICE officers who were extremely aggressive, as you've heard, tear gassing us frequently, pepper balls, but that was 30 to 60 ICE agents engaging with protesters that weren't on the street. Then, after time, Dewana Witt's Hennepin County Sheriff's Department took over the Whipple protesting, and basically what they did is they blocked off protesters and allowed ICE agents to then roam the streets. They would drive into Whipple with people in the back seat and wave at us as protesters. We continued to protest, and one day, on a Monday, I was there and was arrested by the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department, who, in the course of my arrest, I was dragged to their vehicle, wrenching and spinning my shoulder, and they broke my left finger. And this is our neighbors. These are the people supposed to be protecting us. What ICE is doing is wrong, but these are Hennepin County Sheriff's Department. All of them live in our community, and they were doing ICE's work. The next day, I was so upset about all of this, I decided to caucus, and I became a Hennepin County delegate with the sole purpose of holding Dewana Witt accountable. So as part of this, if I have this opportunity, I want to call on someone to challenge her, because right now she is running unchallenged and lying about what the sheriffs are doing. While I was being arrested, I was being misgendered. I was called it at one point, and then charged with two things, dropped off at a train station like a mile and a half from where I was supposed to be, and just told to get back to my car. I have pictures of my bloody finger, pictures of what happened. Overall, though, I just want to emphasize that the federal goons coming into our community is wrong. I am so proud of us for standing up. I don't know why they chose Minneapolis as an example, because we were ready to go. We learned all this in the Floyd protests. It had to happen somewhere. It was going to happen somewhere. And in some ways, while I'm so sad about what's been done in this community, I'm also proud it was here, because this was the place that was most ready to go, and I think we've set an example. We can continue to do so, but I don't want us to forget to hold our local law enforcement agencies and our local community members supporting ICE accountable. Because the surge has ended, though it hasn't really. They're still out there. We're still doing rapid response. The signal groups are still active. But when it does end, and it will end because we will win, let's keep in mind that we still have people that have supported ICE, and we need to hold them accountable because they continue to be our neighbors. They continue to protect us, but they haven't done so. We keep us safe means that we, the people, and that people should be including all of our neighbors, including those that wear uniforms. Thank you.
Kurt Stein, C-U-R-T-S-T-I-N-E. I am so old that I remember the civil rights movements and Vietnam during the 60s. This time is perhaps even worse, I think, given the powers and the way they're being used. I'm very happy that there are younger people who are taking over the battle, and really proud of Minneapolis-St. Paul for all that all of you have done. So, thanks, James.
Right on. All right. Are you going to say something? Are you going to say it? Okay. Let's go. No introduction, but I'll introduce him anyway. Josh Bassais. All right. Man, good to see you, my brother.
My name is Josh Bassais, B-A-S-S-A-I-S. I am a candidate for Hennepin County Commissioner here locally, but more importantly, I'm a lifelong resident of Minneapolis. For those of you folks who are from out of town or not originally from Minneapolis, I just want to reemphasize something about my hometown. My hometown has always been an immigrant-friendly, not friendly, but welcoming community. I bear witness to the Southeast Asian migration of the mid-'70s and late '70s, the Latino migration of the early '80s, the East African migration of the late '80s and early '90s. This is who we are. This is Minneapolis. And so folks around the world wonder why tens of thousands of neighbors come out when it's below zero. Are you nuts? No, that's who we are. We always have looked after each other. And I'm also a parent of two Minneapolis public school kids. And it has become increasingly hard for me to tell my kids who we are, of what they see. It becomes increasingly hard to explain why they go on lock-ins because there's federal agents by their door at the school. It becomes increasingly hard for me to explain why their friends don't come to school anymore. It becomes increasingly hard for me to explain why myself and other concerned parents are delivering food to folks who are scared to leave their homes. In America, against the federal government, and here we are. So I ask, I plead. In fact, ICE is still here, and when they leave, understand that the pain that you've inflicted on the town that I love is going to take decades to heal. But at some point, please, I'm pleading, give us that time. Please give us that time to heal so we can have the spirit of my hometown back and we can move forward. And I want to thank this bit of justice. This is a start and just the beginning. But collectively, I'm so confident in all of you here and the rest of the community that we can heal and keep battling and keep fighting, because that's what we do. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to make sure I didn't forget any other community members who actually wanted to speak, and I I wasn't sure. I was pointing at a couple people, but okay. Looks like people were kind of like, nah, you know. And that's fine. That's fine. So, you know, we can take some questions about sort of other issues. I'll ask the other attorneys to come up, you know, and kind of answer those as well, the other part of the legal team. But again, just come on up. Before we do that, I mean, I really got to say, like, I really appreciate the folks, you know, coming out to speak up and talk about yeah. And then also, I mean, the community people that came out, I mean, I didn't even know if Miss Levy-Pounds was going to come up here. I'm glad she showed up. You know, kind of last minute, I put the word out, and, you know, and Marty and Josh, I mean, and the professor, I was really surprised. I'd asked all those folks to see if we can get them. So this is Minnesota. This is Minneapolis. This is what you're looking at right now. So if you have any questions, I'm up here with the other attorneys. One thing that didn't get a lot pointing out is, you know, Chase and I met at Powell Grounds, and our very specific mission when we met the very first day was we went to go try to retrieve tribal members that have been picked up, and I don't think there's been enough emphasis about that tribal members have been taken. The United States actually has treaties, you know, that we're supposed to follow. So, you know, I was really happy to get involved with Chase, and also he can tell you the story. Some of the Oglala council members showed up, you know, I met with them over there, and you know, talking to DHS and everyone else. So I just wanted to make sure that is stressed. That is also something that we're working towards, and part of what we're doing. We have a case in Idaho which has some overlap with tribal issues, and we're actually doing a press conference about that on the 4th, just so you know. And then again, last thing is, I will be at No Kings with everybody else here, all right? And if you saw me, my first thing is Whipple, holding that sign up, said my name and number. I will be doing that at No King, so fuck ICE, fuck Trump. Oops, wait.
In a nonpartisan way.
If you got any questions, or if they want to wrap up closing remarks.
I just want to say one thing, and we don't know the identity of those Oglala tribal members, so we were not able to locate them. ICE maintains that they didn't snatch them, but we don't know. Are we going to believe ICE? I don't know. So we hold out hope that they'll be identified. The people who are running for office, any kind of post position, leadership, as a family member, what really we're not out of anything. We're not out of the woods on anything. These forces are attempting to overthrow constitutional order. And I've been dwelling on this. I've been doing a deep dive into it because tyranny isn't on its way. Fascism isn't on its way. Mm-hmm. It's right here, right now. In every single one of our cities, as American people, we really have to ask who we are. What constitutes our spiritual dignity and the source of our identity as Americans. It's crazy for me to say that as a Native American, to go back into those founding fathers. We're about to celebrate, commemorate, memorialize 250 years of these United States of America. So we need to assert and defend all of those rights that we hold to be inalienable, that should be unassailable by no matter who it is. This is a popular democracy. It's a constitutional republic, but we the people have superior rights. So if we witness, like we did here, ICE engaging in illegal activity, unconstitutional activity, like when they dragged that Hmong man out of his house. That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. When they snatch and grab people just for constitutional observing, that's a violation of our First Amendment, and we can't stand for any of it. So help us get the word out to contact James Cook. That was brilliant, by the way, what he did there, because it worked. And I want to thank all the other leadership that showed up and really are creating long-lasting solidarity, because that's what's under attack is our very way of life. All the civics classes that we took, everything that we learned about the Bill of Rights, the constitutional rights, they're attacking them right now. They're thinking clearly, cleverly, and brilliantly. They're in their war rooms, in their strategy rooms, wondering and developing and conniving plans. So when I got here, I wanted to meet with city leaders, because who's in our peace room? Who's in our strategy room? Who's developing all of the substance and the force and the spirit of law and how to assert our rights and protect our families, protect ourselves from tyranny? That's not hyperbole. That's not a matter of speech. It's going down right now. So hold your families close. I know we're under a lot of pressure. This is what they mean by flooding the zone. They're just giving us so many things that shock our conscience or challenge our sense of humanity or decency or respect for each other. They're able to win if they can divide us. And whatever, I don't even want to make any comments about what's going on in Iran, but we have combat veterans. We have Ian Austin, Will Kelly, other brothers and sisters who are here who served our country. And we must gather ourselves and stand together. I wanted to add that, because just seeing the number of people that showed up here today, I'm encouraged by that. I come back to Minneapolis every 2 weeks. I have a radio show, a 9:50 a.m. The Progressive Voice of Minnesota radio show, every 2 weeks. And yes, it's AM radio, but I'm kind of old. I'm kind of old. You know, I remember when AM radio was the thing. When all of us watched the news late at night. And it's a different world now. Things are strange now. So, as you see me here before you today, hold your relatives close. See each other. It wasn't until I walked in, near, what's this donut shop called? There's a secondhand, there's a thrift store right next to it. B, I think it's called B. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Before you today, hold your relatives close. See each other. It wasn't until I walked in, near, what's this donut shop called? There's a secondhand, there's a thrift store right next to it. B, I think it's called B. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
before you today. Hold your relatives close. See each other. It wasn't until I walked in, near, what's this donut shop called? There's a secondhand, there's a thrift store right next to it. B, I think it's called B. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.